And thank you, Councillor Mary Hode, Councillor John Sheehan, Joe Fennelly and Micheál Anglam. I want to thank you all, not just for attending our joint Oireachtas committee today, but I suppose for the work that you do every day and every week and all around the year, representing our local authority members. As a former local authority member, and I don't want to boast about it, but I genuinely do believe that local authority representatives fighting a local election is often much harder than any other election, because you're contesting against people on your own street in your own village. And all of you, and particularly throughout the pandemic, I think before we get onto the business of the LDA, it has to be acknowledged the role of local authorities, not just the executive functions, but also all of the elected representatives over the course of what has been an incredibly difficult year for our country. So I want to commend you, I want to commend your members and acknowledge that. I'm also delighted that as a joint Oireachtas committee, we have the opportunity to have both AILG and LAMA attend and participate and contribute to our pre-legislative scrutiny. We've also invited the CCMA to attend, and they will meet us at another meeting. It's really important, coming from a local authority background myself, I understand the frustrations that you very eloquently expressed on behalf of your members in terms of the way local authority power, elected representatives' powers have been diminished, but also how their role as a front runner in terms of the provision of social and affordable housing, it falls far short of what it needs to be. We see a huge opportunity with both the Land Development Agency bill, but most importantly then the Affordable Housing Bill, to really empower local authorities and to empower your members to meet the housing need from your communities. And I suppose I have a couple of questions that I'd like to put to you. When we had the CCMA attend the Joint Oireachtas Committee to discuss the Affordable Housing Bill, I specifically asked them about, obviously there is the biggest social housing programme in a decade is underway across the local authorities across the country, but I specifically asked them about what targets they have set for the delivery of affordable housing, because we will have the local authorities will have the power to deliver affordable housing, both to purchase and to rent. And the CCMA advised the committee that they have no targets set yet for the delivery of affordable housing. And obviously that rings alarm bells for us. As part of our work at the pre-legislative scrutiny of the Affordable Housing Bill, I had proposed that every local authority within 6 months of the legislation being passed would be required to publish 3, 5 and 10-year targets for the delivery of affordable housing in their local authority area. And the thinking behind that is that each local authority then would be identifying what the affordable housing need is over the 3, 5, 10 years, but also would be very clearly signalling to the department that that is what its target is, and it will require funding for that. And also a suggestion that the department would have to approve applications from local authorities within 6 months. I would appreciate feedback from both the AILG and LAMA on if they think those two interventions would help local authorities to scale up and start to deliver affordable homes, both to purchase and rent, on your lands. Gormagad.
I'll ask AILG to comment first and then go to LAMA.
Thank you, Stephen. Go ahead, Ed, go ahead.
Do you want to, sorry, Councillor Hode, who's going to respond on behalf of AILG?
Actually, Councillor Anne Colgan is going to come in there.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Colgan.
She's just on mute, Chair.
It's on mute. You're mute.
I actually think Councillor Colgan's has frozen there, so we might move to Councillor Sheehan, who on behalf of LAMA would like to respond to that question on targets and the 6-month response.
Micheál Anglam, Chairman, might like to respond.
Go ahead, please.
It won't unmute. Right.
Hello? Hello, okay, can you hear me now?
Okay, we seem to be having a few technical difficulties there. Councillor Sheehan, could I ask you to unmute, please, and if you could respond to the question from Councillor or from Senator Fitzpatrick, and then I'll go to Councillor Colgan.
Sure, look, I think Anne Colgan's mic is unmuted there.
Yeah, I go to Councillor Sheehan.
Now, Chair?
Yes.
Perfect.
Well, just to acknowledge the importance of targets for local authorities for both social and affordable housing, I think that will be very valuable. And it is really good that now the government has given an indication that there will be funding available to local authorities for affordable housing, because that hasn't been the case up to now. And I suppose what is going to make the difference is when we get clarity about the conditions of the scheme and the funding that will be available for the scheme. And in my view, and I'm sure my colleagues would agree with this, that putting together the targets will be very possible within the kind of time frame you're speaking about, because we have undertaken our housing need demand assessment as part of our county development plans, and we have the granular detail about housing need, and it will all be down to the level of funding available and the provisions we get to support the delivery.
Thank you.
And that's great to hear that. I'm not at all surprised that you've all the legwork done, and I look forward to us being able to provide you with the funding.
Thank you.
And Councillor Sheehan, do you wish to come back on that
Chair,
as well?
if I could, I suppose I'd be coming maybe from the point of, you can set all the targets and aspirations and objectives and whatever word you want to use for that all you like. We'll say it's the delivery of action is the key indicator in which success or not on affordable housing will be judged. And I suppose the term alone affordable housing has been somewhat strained, I suppose, when you see some of the prices of what affordable houses are coming in at. So I wouldn't get too hung up on it, but there are a cohort of people there whom, from maybe the 35k salary-wise plus up to about maybe even as far as 70k, are totally disenfranchised within our market at the moment. And as we have said in our presentation, we're not going to dwell on your ideology as to whether you want all publicly owned lands to have public housing, or whether you want the market to produce them through developer or that. But there is something broken within our market at the moment, and it is supply versus demand. And if the supply gets ramped up, the affordability will come back into the system, which is not there at the moment. What I would agree with Mary Fitzpatrick is that the timeline of the 6 months, that you need responses. You need to put in those indicators that if a proposal is made, that there would be a time set on it, and that it would be delivered within that time set. And as we've said in our statement, if delivery doesn't happen, somebody is accountable for it somewhere. But presently, at the moment, with the centralised system that we find at local authority members, you go to your housing SPCs, you go to your main plenary meetings, and yes, we'll come back to you on that. We need to clarify that with the department, clarify this with the department, and clarify the other with the department, which leaves you in total no man's land. Give the impetus back to the local authorities, and don't get hung up too much on what term you use in it. Delivery of numbers is the key issue.